crazy story. Just like the others, how am I always involved? I can't explain it. Must be something in the air, or maybe it's just me. Is it me? Is it me? I can't explain what else.
Welcome back, everybody, to Is It Me, where we're spiraling. I'm your host, Michelle Forster. I'm here today. My guest is a comedian from Detroit.
Yeah.
It's Jay Hunter. What's up?
What's going on, man? Y'all, you guys got to check out what I'm listening to. It's me. It's gonna be me.
Well, that's Is It Me is the name of this podcast. So
Coincidence?
coincidence.
I think so.
Or you did your research.
I didn't know. It was small research. I kind of sort of put it together.
Oh, look at that. Look at the service here.
was
Thanks,
mine.
Borge.
I will definitely tip well.
So how are you, Jay?
I'm okay. I'm more than okay. I'm actually very excited. So, like the reason I'm in Canada, Detroit comic in Canada. Last week I had a weekend at Absolute and
In Ottawa
In
or Toronto? Ottawa.
and it was my first time. Like I got in there. I've been working Jason, beating him down for about 2 years now. And I also have Laugh Lounge weekend, the 5th and the 6th.
Oh, so fun. I was just there last night and the night before. Does that change how you feel about going to perform there?
I will tell the story like this. To put a little bow on the reason I'm here, I'm kind of bookending, the Ottawa thing. I wasn't going to stay in Ottawa for 2 weeks for no reason, and I wasn't going to go back to the States. So
Also smart.
yeah, so I decided to stay in Montreal, got on a bunch of shows. Sid gave me some love, Vaudeville, Laval got laughs or some shit. So like it's and I'll get the title right. But so I wanted to stay in Montreal, but here's the thing. Here's the part where I'm like, Laugh Lounge. I'm running into a bunch of people. I'm doing a bunch of shows out here. This one guy, he performs at the House of Jazz, and his daughter was at a show, and he was like, my daughter lives in Ottawa, and she'll go to your show or whatever. And I was like, sure thing. Got his contact information. All I want is just like a flyer or maybe even a link to the show.
Right.
And it's not posted. It's not up
For Laugh Lounge?
for Laugh Lounge. And it's been that way for quite some time. So last week I shoot a message like, hey, I got some people interested in coming to see the show. I was going to say me, but like come see the show. And email, no response. I send a message to their Instagram business chat. No response, but I'm watching them still posting stuff like last night was sold out. It's great.
Yeah. So I know for a fact that they were not answering their emails over the holiday break, which is super fair. And then I know also for a fact that the person that runs their social, I don't think answers their DMs because I know the person who runs their social. So I think you have to send a DM to the owner, and I'll give you his name off air.
Yeah.
And you can DM him. He's a great guy.
I've met him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's one of the first people that I met when I started coming to Canada a lot.
Oh, cool.
So I was excited that he's running a tight ship. That I'm now a lot more happy, though I don't show it, that you said they don't respond to that stuff, because in my heart it typically goes to. I go to dark places because I used to be a practicing pessimist. So it went to. Maybe they just canceled, and it's such a rough blow that they're just going to wait to drop the shoe, like on the 4th.
No.
Yeah, so like it's one of those things where, that makes me feel better. Though there's like a handful of people that may not be able to catch the show, or maybe whenever they post it, then I'll try and link them to it. But it's like 3 separate groups that are interested in seeing. Yeah.
Wow. So many fans in Ottawa.
It's and some of them, like this one cat actually lives out here, and he was like, I'll come out there. And I'm like, wow, I just wish I had something. But yeah.
We can get that. I think I can help you get that, I think.
That's it's always good to know people in high places.
Yeah. At least one person in a high place.
Yeah. Hell yeah. What's up? Oh, God in the building. What's up?
So have you been enjoying your time in Montreal? You've been doing lots of shows. You've been getting into lots of conversations.
Oh yeah. Like everything is interesting, and like I've been opening a different chapter in my life where I'm trying to take things a lot more serious, and it's ironic in like comedy. So it involves talking to more people and being more and more open, but all the other shenanigans kind of go away. So like, I want to say I stopped drinking about 6 months ago, just for personal reasons. I wanted to see if I can shake this AIDS. No, no. But for
good reason.
I really just wanted to I'm trying some healthy stuff, and I want to get healthier. I want to eat like
kale.
Yeah, even though the folic acid, and no, I'm kidding. So like cutting out certain carbs, cutting out like the gluten stuff, cutting out fried food, anything processed, drinking a ton of water, eliminating sugar. I just wanted to see if there was going to be a change, getting rid of alcohol. And I've noticed certain changes of I can go to sleep easier, wake up.
Sleep is a big one, yeah.
All these silly things. I don't want to go to some doctor and some doctor's like, hey, I stopped taking any and all of my medications. I was like taking ADD medicine. I was taking some other type of medicine, those heart medicines and such.
Oh, you should maybe take your heart medicine.
Nope. I haven't stopped taking it. Okay. Don't need it. Just whenever that heart rate gets up nice and high, I just sit down and dial 911 and just wait. No.
Just like have your thumb hover on the last one in case.
And it's like that joke, like not like it's material, but like that joke only works 40 years ago when, you press the last button and it dials.
Yeah.
I can dial 911 and I press send. That's the last button.
You have to, the last button is the green telephone icon.
Exactly. See, now I just got to update.
It's too complicated.
I got to update that bit that's just created in my head.
Tragedy.
Plus time equals constipation. No, so it's you might be right on that heart medicine thing, but we'll see. No,
but I understand. I just started Vyvanse, and I do like the way that they make me feel. Mm-hmm. But I have moments where I'm like, this is meth.
Yep. And
I take it every day.
So this is how I try.
So how am I different from a meth addict?
Very different. It's all justification. So a meth addict is chasing down a high. You're convincing yourself you need it to get by. Right.
But wouldn't the meth addict also think they need it to get by?
No, they're chasing the high.
They're just chasing the high.
So like we're both chasing a high, but someone's chasing a party high or a good feeling. You know how people say, don't talk to me unless I have my coffee.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I say that every morning.
That is the same thing as taking Adderall.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I was describing it, because this is how the feeling worked out with me. I have concentration issues ever since I was a kid. They tried to put me on Ritalin. My mom told me that like 5 years ago. I was like, the fuck,
Mm-hmm. I love that parents just like hold these things in and they don't tell you till you're like in your 20s. They're like, yeah. When you were a kid, we knew. You're like,
it's one of those things that makes sense because like we're always kids. So like even until you have a kid, you're always a kid.
So true.
And then even when you have a kid, you're a kid raising a kid.
With a kid.
And then you won't know until they're old enough to maybe have a kid. And then you can just tell them like, yeah, you remember when you were? And you're like, I didn't know this. And it's like, and you wouldn't.
There's no reason for you to know.
You have to get to a certain age to where you can actually understand and comprehend things. Some people, it's their 30s. Some people, their 20s when they had a rough life. But other than that, they could tell you at 18, you're just going to forget it because you have your 20s to go through.
Yeah. There's so many things my parents told me when I was younger that I only understand now. Like they've told me those things most of my life.
Like birds and the bees?
Kind of like you're saying, like if they told you, like the birds and the bees, like they told you something when you were young, but like you just said, I was too young to understand what they were really telling me.
Yeah.
And then recently I'll like wake up and I'll be like, oh my God, now I really know what my mom meant when she told me that.
What's the latest one?
A lot of like stuff relating to grief. I've like really coming to terms with like the fact that my parents both lost their parents when they were in their 40s. So like they were like orphaned when they were in their 40s. And at that time they were, both of them were very, I would say angry people.
Mm-hmm.
And it only now just recently, like they would tell us stories about like how their parents passed or like even they would tell us little tidbits when my grandparents passed and I was alive. And it only now has like really sunk in that I'm like, oh, you were two 40-year-olds who were grieving with 10-year-olds and like didn't know how to do that. And
The complexity.
you were pissed.
Yeah.
And you didn't have the space. Like if God forbid, if one of my parents passed right now, I have the space to like grieve that, like without any
responsibilities.
Yeah, without any responsibilities. So
It's not
anyone
like you're
relying
like
on me.
married or a kid, like, or like like I'm a surgeon and I need to be in surgery. When you have like these extra responsibilities, it just adds to the complexity. So like everyone on this planet has their own complexities, just the way that the ego is set up. So like everyone has their own personal hell. Like I can't say this day that I had is worse than anyone else's day. You know, I tried to describe to someone a thug in a shootout could have a bad day just as bad as some valley girl getting dropped off into the hood and doesn't have like her phone to call an Uber. You know, we can't say because there's bullets flying on this one that it's worse than there, because internally the way people process their environment, you know, her heart rate could be the same as his heart rate could be low. This could be nothing to him. This could be, you know, just another day, like those, you know, MMA fighters. You know, it's not like they're angry when they're fighting somebody. They're fighting somebody, as opposed to someone that gets dropped off and she's like, oh my God, I don't have my phone. Heart starts racing, you know, palms sweaty, mom spaghetti. Like that's it can happen, you know, but it's just, it's interesting. So like I've learned that about people. Like I've been learning people for like 20 years. So it's like, it's an interesting phenomenon about how they process things and how they process grief. And everyone has like their complexities, but the process to process is the same.
Yeah.
It's just hard because while you're going through it, it doesn't make any sense.
No. That's interesting that you put it that way, process to process. So you've been studying people. We talked a little bit about this before the show started, about ego and stuff. And you said you have been studying people and people interact for 20 years. How old are you?
I'm 42.
42. Okay. So at 22 years old, you decide, is that when you started observing? Like what were you doing before that? Just kind of.
You almost had that right on the nose. I've never had someone ever get that close. So I barely graduated high school and I kind of had to join the Navy. And after I joined the Navy, like, I did pretty well on the test to get in. And after that test, they were like, hey, there's these 3 fields. Do you want to take the test to see if you qualify for these? And I took that test. And here's where I thought they got the wrong person. Like out of 80 points, they said I got a 78. And like I was hiding report cards as a kid. Like I wasn't good academia. So I got into the nuclear field and I operated a nuclear reactor in the Navy. So wasn't great at it. The school part. The school part, that was the hardest. Like multiple choice was gone. Everything was write out answers. Everything was like a bunch of work. It was a bunch of memorization. And I graduated dead last. But I learned how to treat everything like a process. So I learned discipline. Now, all that entire time, I wasn't anything. Like I was barely a blip. I didn't have too much of a personality. I didn't, you know.
When you were in the Navy, you mean? Or when you were?
All before. And
up until.
And even the first 2 years in the Navy, I was just kind of going with the flow. And around 21, 22, I started to develop my constitution is how I describe it. It's like I started to develop myself and I started learning, you know, what I stand up for, what I won't, you know, what I'll die for. So at around 22,
Your country,
23.
hopefully.
At the time,
No, I'm just kidding. That was a Navy joke.
no, you're right. They're going to have to take back my valor. I stole it. I wasn't ready to die like Biggie. You know what I'm saying? No, but it was the Navy.
Don't blame you.
It was the Navy. It was one of those situations where motherfuckers, there are people in the Navy that didn't know how to swim. And they're like, how could you be in the Navy and not know how to swim? I was on an aircraft carrier that carried like 3,000 people. If I need to swim, we have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
Like if I'm in a situation where I'm overboard or, the ship's hit, everyone jump, abandon ship. First off, you jump off of an aircraft carrier that's going down, just the pull of that large vessel, you're not swimming away from that.
Right.
Phelps wouldn't even be able to do it with his fucking,
Yeah.
because he's got those, well, we have those ears. Around 22, 23, really started to hone my skills, learn myself, and started to see the patterns in things just from that discipline, that training, being able to see things all as like a process.
Yeah.
And logic started taking over in my life. So then I started developing myself. Once I started developing myself, I was able to see other people not developed, other people going through the motions, other people that are just signing up for that social contract, that day in, day out of, hey, be polite to people, and they're supposed to be polite back, and ask them about how their day and how the weather's going and all these other things that aren't real and just kind of fake. So after I learned that, I started just looking at people, and there's nothing new under the sun.
No.
Nothing.
Isn't that sad when you realize that? I think I had a similar realization.
It's sad, and then it's up to you to get out of that sadness. So my version of getting out of that sadness, and this is kind of the crux of why I got into comedy, is, I guess we're going into it. So back in 2017, I kind of had a life-altering situation. So as cliche as it sounds, I was on a deathbed, and I said, if I live, I'm no longer going to just be angry at the world. I'm going to be the change that I want to see. Stage 4 cancer, whatever. We'll get into it if we need to. So I survived. I'm going to use comedy. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try and input logic back into our population, because I've watched us as a society get a little bit dumber, get a little bit less resilient, not want to get out of their comfort zones. Everyone thinks they're fragile because you can sell to that. It's kind of like a capitalism type thing. So,
That's true. You can sell to fragile people.
oh, absolutely. Keep them nice and divided, not thinking,
Yeah.
But the genius of what I'm trying to do is where's the one place where you can catch somebody where their guards are down and they don't have to identify themselves? It's a comedy club. So I can have a conservative or a Democrat. I could have an undercover police officer. I could have a racist police officer. I could have a All Lives Matter, a Black Lives Matter. I could have someone in the closet, someone out of the closet.
Yeah.
I could have anything. And they just sit down. You don't have to identify yourself. The lights go down low and they're open. Now you just slip some logic in. And if someone remembers just like, oh, that funny motherfucker, and if the logic is solid enough, they'll go, maybe I don't have to beat my wife or whatever, fill in the blank.
Totally.
So all I have to do, simple, all I have to do is get funnier than Dave Chappelle, and then
Easy.
start slipping that logic in. So,
Just slip the logic in. No, I think that's really cool that you say that, because I have a very similar view about comedy and the purpose of comedy. I find comedy is something that allows people to let their guard down, because it's not something typically, we're entering a world where that's a bit changing, but it's not something that's supposed to have an agenda.
Yep.
Or that's what the audience walks in thinking. There's no agenda to this.
The pure form of it?
Pure form, we're just trying to have a good time. We're just whatever. Now, of course, the most genius writers will find ways to kind of, change your point of view on things or offer a different perception. And maybe that will impact your life in a way where you do make real changes, like choosing not to beat your wife. But yeah, I relate to
Or
that a lot.
husband. I didn't
Or
want to leave
husband.
that
Yeah,
out.
I mean, it happens both ways.
It definitely happens both ways. Like,
For sure.
I will fuck my husband up.
But yeah, I find comedy to be, I agree completely. What's something that what's a logical thing you're hoping to slip in eventually?
Oh, we're more indestructible than you think. Like, the resilience of a human is the most amazing thing that's out there, because like, I could be paralyzed and you could take both my parents and blind me and I could still become a recording artist or a president or a this or that. All those things, like all those boundaries, they're just waiting around the corner, and it's up to you to stand up, you know. But if capitalism keeps everyone sitting, like, we're basically, not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist.
That's okay. I'm surrounded by them constantly.
We're at a close. We're close enough to being, you know, like the Matrix type stuff, or the, you know, we're just turned into batteries and they're getting stuff from us. Like,
Yeah.
like I read a book recently, and it's by this person that is a researcher. She's been doing research for over like 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that this nonfiction played out, it felt like a thriller. And it's called The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. And it just goes into all the things that your phone does, what it hears, what it sees, your behavioral patterns, what you click on, what you're at, all those things, and all that data, they just sell it off. So
Who do they sell it to?
That's the question.
Yeah.
So,
because I've been on the receiving end of working at a data company, and all I can tell you is that nobody knows how to like, as much as
that's the chaos
as much as there is evil, there is also chaos. And I think the one thing people have not, or like companies have not nailed down, or a lot I think most humans have not nailed down, is like communicating effectively and like communicating.
we're losing it.
Yeah, we're so bad at communicating.
This battle is being lost because of feeling, and phones and social media have got us in the place to where our feelings matter without any responsibility. So how you feel matters.
Right.
I've had communication problems to where I literally say words to a person. They repeat back the words, but they say, "But I felt you said this." And I go, "That's an impossibility. There's no way that I can speak to you according to your feelings, because I'm not psychic."
No. But I think your feelings inform your perception, right?
They absolutely do. But you can't put that on someone else.
No.
The one part that I left about that conversation is the other person was somehow offended with something I said. Like, it caused one of the negative emotional reactions. Now, if you and I are having a conversation and we're talking about something, I bring up a subject and it brings that out of you. The second someone has the negative you know what? I'll just say the second anyone has an emotion, you start removing yourself from the conversation. So if I say something and it gets you upset, imagine you start focusing on how upset you are. What else are you hearing?
Nothing.
If I make you sad, what else are you hearing?
Nothing.
If I make you happy, there's a chance you might still hear more, because we feed off of it. It's like a dopamine effect. But I mean, what else are you hearing? Now you're getting focused on the happiness. So the emotions just make you focus on whatever you want to feel. And if your emotions are more important than communication, you're going to focus on yourself and not the communication. It's we're losing this battle because of ego.
Right. Well, this I agree with. I don't know, but okay, let me think about this. Because now I'm processing if I'm feeling something right now. I think maybe people would communicate better if they had the ability to stop and do what you're saying and say, "I'm feeling angry right now, so I should stop."
The thing,
right?
You're doing you're looking at this objectively, and that's dope.
I'm trying to.
No, you got it. I'm saying you full on got it. But the reason that it's not necessarily hitting you is because I haven't said anything that you've attached to personally yet.
But what about like in a real personal relationship? Like you and I don't have a super personal relationship, but in your life, I'm sure you do.
I proposed to you yesterday. Like you told me you'll get back to me.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
no. But
yeah.
but even on
Like if you're in like a partner, for example, like I think
Absolutely.
communication styles, and if you're talking to your partner and they're saying all these like nice things about you, complimentary things about you, and you feel like you're in love and you feel like admiration for the person, you feel seen and you feel respected and all these things.
that must be nice.
Oh my God,
wonder
so
what
nice.
that
I am
feels
kind of, I was going on because I was
Yeah.
like, wow, that would be really nice to feel.
Yeah.
That's going to inform how you feel about the person in that moment, right? And what if you share a really nice moment with them? Because you were just saying if
it would be nice.
if you feel that emotion, you should stop communicating.
It would be nice if it were real.
You don't think it's real?
No.
Okay.
Most of the time it's not. Because the thing is, I find real works a lot better than fake. Now, fake, it could be these compliments, it could be these things so that I can get you to feel good. What if it's not real?
Right.
I could just be gassing you up. Now,
You could be just
now when I
gassing
have a
you up.
bad day, how am I going to make you feel good with fake shit if I'm having a bad day? That's a lot of responsibility.
It's too much.
So what if we just started at a blank slate where we're both being real? So we really get to know each other. And it's almost like when you come to these relationships, let's leave the representative at home. Because we bring out a representative. I don't want to say this, so he'll think I'm crazy. I'm not going to say this because she won't let me fuck. All these different things. I mean, these are all real thoughts. Because I have a decent ability to, put myself in just almost all the shoes because there's nothing new under the sun. I've just seen it so many different times that it's almost becoming a rule. So we're sending out these representatives. We're not effectively communicating. I'm having the only reason I'm laughing is because I'm not trying to make a joke out of this, but I truly believe the only time that two humans attracted to each other, humans, animals, I'm going to start calling them animals, the only time that they're actually true and honest is during a one-night stand. I'm going to explain. During a one-night stand,
where you're going with it.
the female side is like, yeah, I want that. On the male side, obviously, yeah, I want that. And then right there, it just sparks and it happens because there's this relationship. It's always a cat and mouse. It's rarely ever, the mouse chasing the cat. But when it comes together and then comes together, like it's just, but the second you go on like that first, second, third, or create a relationship afterward, that first date, each person has a representative. Like there's a dude on a date. He had a one-night stand with you. He wants to fuck again.
Right.
Fucking again may not happen.
Right.
Because there's thoughts going in her head. Well, I don't want him to think I'm and all these other things. But none of those things are discussed. So now you're just at a date like, oh, so what's your favorite color? And a whole bunch of things that don't matter.
But what if I told you that the thing that led to the one night stand was also fake?
What's the thing that led to the one-night stand?
Like the way that people communicate before they.
One-night stands barely have communication. I've been scoped at one time, and it was never in the United States because never in the United States is a first move ever made on me. So I was in England for a study abroad, and I was at a bar, and at the time I was like 35. An older lady, she does this thing like, can I buy you a drink? And I did the most cliche thing of like looking over my shoulder and then turning back like, who, me? She was like, yeah. It was one drink, it was 2 dances, and then it was back to her place, Bone Central. And like at Bone Central, sex happens.
But she wanted to have sex with you, I think, the second she asked to buy you a drink.
Probably a few minutes before even asking.
Right. Okay, well, I've had one night stands where the only reason
How dare you?
the only reason I went home with that person was because, well, we had a real nice conversation, and there is a Sorry, I'm really.
Go
you're
for
like
it.
you're breaking my brain a little. I'm trying to process what I'm about to say. What I used to love about one night stands, I don't do them anymore. I think for the opposite of what you just said about them being very honest, I find them to be completely disingenuous because there's this like spark and this like kind of like impulsiveness of like, let's just do this now.
That's the most honest. If
right.
you try to
The
continue
impulse
a one
is
night stand,
honest.
it won't be honest anymore.
Yeah, the impulse is honest, and I agree with you. But then there's also this like kind of like whirlwind. Like I always say, a one night stand feels like falling in love for one night.
Yeah.
Like the before. And actually the best part of a one night stand is the before.
Yeah.
Not the sex usually. Sometimes the sex.
But that's for you.
But that's, yeah.
For a guy.
Yeah.
100%
Oh,
it
okay.
is.
Okay, great. Good to know.
I mean, no.
Good to know. Let me write that down.
You shouldn't have to.
No.
It's for 100% of men.
Right. But I find that then if you said, like then we keep going on dates, then you get to know the person a little bit more. Things change. The magic of that night goes away. And you're saying it's because people get less real as you get to know each other, or like your representatives come out.
Unless you strive to be honest after it. Like I haven't been in a scenario where I revisited a one night stand and we were both just honest about it. Now, when that honesty does happen, whoa, like whoa. But I'm saying societally, if that's a word, like in a society, we have rules and these conditions that we abide by that say you're supposed to think a certain way and I'm supposed to think a certain way. Now, if you abide by those two things, you will rarely communicate what you really want.
Right.
So like if I see
you're communicating within a specific framework. Yeah.
And like if I go on a date and I go, hi, it's a pleasure to meet you. You look great. I'd really like to fuck you tonight. 0% chance of me fucking. 0. Now,
Maybe like 1%. There's some people appreciate honesty. There's got to be other people that think like you.
If it's smaller than 1%, and like even I have this analogy that I use. It's one of my favorites. I really get to pull this one out. That's what he said. So if you have a bar and it's like filled with 100 dudes and a female comes in and she's like she's in between like a 5 and a 7 on the scale of attractiveness or whatever. Because the attractiveness doesn't quite matter, but 5 and a 7, just remember that. 100 dudes, half of them are married, half of them aren't. And all she just says hello and asks one question. Would you like to have sex? I always have 2 separate numbers depending on the gender that I'm talking to. If I'm talking to a dude, I'm like 95% will say yes. Female, I'm like 75%. But it's just because I'm trying not to sound as bad as I really think it is. 95% saying yes.
Right.
Because 5% might be deaf. So like
you got to account for
but high percentage of the yes.
Okay.
Now flip the thing and I'm going to up the ante on the other side.
Yeah.
100 women and a guy that walks in with the equivalent attractiveness of like a Brad Pitt or Idris Elba, just pick it, just gorgeous fucking dude. You can see his abs through his t-shirt.
Got it.
Chiseled, whatever the fuck.
Not for me, but yeah. I'm just kidding.
But whatever your version of it is, that's what he looks like.
Yep. And
we can, I'm gonna up the ante more. 50% of the women in there already want to fuck him.
Okay.
But same rules apply to him.
Yeah.
Hello? Would you like to have sex? I'm talking 10 percentile of saying yes.
You think?
Even the ones that already want to fuck him. Who do you think I am? Fuck you. Hello? Would you like to have sex? Those are the only words. Hello? Would you like to have sex?
You think 10%?
I think less.
What do you think, Borge?
Maybe 10%.
Do you agree with
Maybe.
Do you agree with the other?
I just don't think I don't think half of married dudes would cheat based on that. But like, if
You're
they're
optimistic.
all single, like 90% of people, if the girl's hot and she's like, I want to fuck, I just think the only people who would say no would be people who think it's like a trap.
Okay, so let's think. Why do you think that is? Why do you think?
I've been on this earth a long time.
No,
a lot longer than his
you
optimism. No, and I don't mean it in a bad way.
No,
you're still optimistic. You should. I want you to have that type of optimism.
I agree. I don't have that type of optimism either. But what do you think it is what do you think the relationship that men have with sex that makes that true? That or what's lacking? Why can't women say yes, even if they want to? Because
society and the design that's inside,
right,
physiologically, like
okay, that's interesting.
With women, if I may speak loosely, well, with women, it's typically they want to have sex almost as much as men, almost, but not even close. Almost as much as men. Gotta laugh. Almost as much as men, but it's with person. But for men, it's they want to have a lot of sex, and it could be with person, but it's also persons. We're almost designed to spread seed,
right?
And women are designed to cultivate seed, so cultivate a relationship. That's why it's a more intimate situation where you're letting someone in, and with a man, he's just poking. So there's a lot more intimacy with the letting in,
right? I have heard this. That's more like physiological though, right? Also, because there's like the consideration too that you're also literally letting someone's
absolutely. Body
enter yours.
But then society has a lot to do with a lot of that. Like,
yeah.
Like being able to say, sure, I'd fuck you is hard. Far from the patriarchy. I mean, if we were to look at like the standards of beauty and these magazines, men aren't writing these magazines. If we're to look at lingerie, just simply lingerie, you could be wearing sweatpants.
But it's informed by the male gaze. It is.
It isn't. Because men don't see lingerie. Man sees
lingerie is just supposed to accent boobs and butt.
But if you're wearing a G-string, where it's just string, only that's made for two specific people.
Okay.
One of them is the whatever dude you choose, if we're just talking about on a hetero level. And the other, and most importantly, is you.
Yes.
So patriarchy had touched none of that.
No, it touched all of it.
Far from it. We're just not the ones that created that. I'm saying you could be wearing male boxers.
Right.
I'm still going to go down there and do some damage. I don't need that. I don't need a string up the ass.
But the patriarchy does tell women that they are. The patriarchy tells women.
Capitalism tells women what they are. Because it's a great way to control.
But the patriarchy tells women that you need a man in your life, and that you're valued by men. And that's how you seek value.
I mean, no, like on a societal level, there is a strain of that like logic. And then because it goes against when I was saying like capitalism, because capitalism wants both. Capitalism wants both. You need a man, but it also wants you are a single, strong woman and you don't need a man. Because I can make money off of both of those models. Right.
In this day and age. But the undertone, okay, because we're getting a little bit off track. Because I'm trying to understand here. You don't think that lingerie was created for men. You think it was created by women for women, but to serve what purpose? To be sexual and to look a certain way that we have internalized makes us desirable to men. So it is informed by the male gaze. Because if it was just not, then women would just wear sweatpants.
I wish they did. I'd be a fan. I'm saying like the thing is it's women will forever and until the death of time be an attraction to men. I don't need lingerie. There's an entire market of stuff that you guys buy. I don't need those.
But the insecurity that the patriarchy creates in women contributes to the need that then needs to be fulfilled by lingerie.
Capitalism. No, because so like capitalism is the thing that
do you not believe in the patriarchy, or you just don't believe specifically that the patriarchy touches lingerie?
I don't believe that patriarchy touches lingerie. I think there's a bunch of makeup. Men have nothing to do with that. The
history of makeup was that it helps you look more desirable. Right.
And nowadays it's gone to
But who do you
different
think
places.
women are doing that for? Themselves? I think now we're teaching them to
at a
do it for
societal
themselves.
level,
But I think the real reason is because you are seen as valuable if you are a good-looking woman. And if you are not a good-looking woman, you do lose value in society.
Whoever set up those
And
societal standards,
Yeah.
which isn't a man, it's some type of capitalistic controlling
Okay,
property.
I'm not saying necessarily though that a man is the one who was like, you have to wear lingerie in order for men to think you're attractive. I think it's much more complex than that. I think that women, yes, mothers teach their daughters to do things in order to get a husband because there was a time where that was your only purpose. You don't exist outside of your worth to men. And so all of that, and then yes, fueled by capitalism, all of that made women buy things that made them look attractive. But it's because it stems from a belief that if you're not attractive as a woman, you don't have value in the society. And I think proof of that is when women age out, they very much become invisible, and we don't value them as much.
There are certain things that lead to that. I mean, it's very complex.
It is complex, and we're talking in like very reductive ways right now.
I've
I
been
think
able to tackle this subject. I'm trying to choose the right words
Me
because
too.
it's also a very touchy subject to individuals. I only look at it with like the data, and I try to stay as far removed from it as I can. Looking at it from aging out and not being the same on the market, like that has to do with choice. So it's like if we were to look at the dating pool or men and women, like it still has to do with this type of market of people's desires. So when you say like a woman phases out like at a certain age and becomes invisible, on the reverse end, if these males, which I hate because some of my algorithm spouts some of this stuff, but it's like there's this 90 percentile of men or 80 percentile of men that are invisible to women. And because they're not 6 foot tall, gorgeous like me, making six figures, being able to spend money on the women that do put on the makeup and the heels and all this other effort. And I think all of these little dances that we're doing is horseshit because it's all lies. It's all about like looks and it's all about photos.
I think I see what you're saying, and I would love to think that it's lies, but people buy into it.
Oh yeah,
And
because
so-
we're selling this product that's being driven by a type of capitalistic, similar to when I mentioned that book, Surveillance Capitalism. It is being driven by these things that aren't real. Like Instagram has put stuff in people's head, gassed people up to cap, to look a certain way, put on a filter so I look pretty, me stand on top of something so I look tall. Me stand in front of this vehicle so it looks like it's mine. Me holding money that's,
But we're marketing towards a need, because we're always marketing towards a need,
no, wants.
a want,
The needs are the
want
wants.
that's a perceived need, though.
No, I
Definitely
think it's a
perceived
need. It's a human need to want to be accepted.
No,
I don't think
sir.
it's the right way to get in.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
It's a human need to want to be accepted
Looking
by
at
society.
Maslow's hierarchy, when you have like the self concept, then you go to like nature, then you go to like shelter, and I'm speaking like all over the place, but there are the intrinsic needs,
Yep.
and then there are these other needs, and then there's these needs, and then there's these wants, and then there's these beliefs. You about to pull it up?
He does.
It's
He
the
does
third one
the
on the-
Google.
Love and belonging.
Yeah.
So that's the Maslow. So most people have physiological and safety needs.
Yeah.
Right? So everyone's stuck here, and that would be where someone's capping on Instagram is because you think capping is going to bring you this need. Now it's not the right thing.
And if you move the cursor up, they've made this trick to where it skips esteem and it goes to self-actualization.
That I
Because-
would agree with.
because it's such a trick that they pull. So when you think you need this, you make it into like a life or death. You think
Yes.
it's so it's a big old skip, but it's not a real need. Because when
No,
I
it's
talk
a
about
perceived
needs,
need.
the
Yeah.
perceived, and that's where you got it right on the money.
Yeah.
The perceived need is where we're losing.
And I
this
would
battle.
say that those perceived needs that women and men have, this idea that men have to be 6 foot and that women have to be whatever, gorgeous or whatever, whatever it is, the perceived needs that we have, I think are informed by the patriarchy. That's my point.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Women are the ones that are choosing what they want in a dude, and men are the ones choosing what they want in women.
But we have been socialized to think that we need certain things that are actually perceived needs. Like what we
I
need.
think that's capitalism, because that's the best way to sell it.
I think they go in tandem. I think they work very well together.
The patriarchy.
And I think capitalism was created as a result of the patriarchy.
I see it more as capitalism, even though I see the tie. I could see the tie, and it could easily be that they're just tied and they're hip and hip. But
Yeah.
like in my head, I don't say patriarchy in my head. I just say capitalism.
Yeah,
Because
that's fair.
I don't know who's up there. It's a bunch of cloaked motherfuckers. They may have dinglings, but it's bigger
Yeah.
than a patriarchy thing, because the evil that they inflict is way bigger than holding women down.
But it's not. But here's, I think,
Whenever I hear patriarchy, I think of holding
women down. But actually,
There's
and
in
I
my
think,
head, it has that.
and it does, and it's because we've linked that, like the way we've taught it. It has, but there has been a great focus on the people that are calling it out more, which traditionally has been women. But the patriarchy hurts men and women. It teaches men that they have to be
and women
providers. It teaches men all these kind of
and women.
yeah, and women. It
Everyone's
teaches
getting
both of us, but
everyone's getting miseducations.
yes, but it's a system that works very well because it
Controls.
it controls
Yeah.
and it makes us
But
believe
whenever I think
that we
I
think
just
to
go
need
right
to be
capitalism.
certain things.
Absolutely. And only way we can like go above and beyond and heal from
Mm-hmm.
any of that is creating the other options. So fighting, never the answer,
No,
ever.
right,
Because if we were to fight over the semantics of capitalism or patriarchy,
right,
it's exactly what, instead of calling it patriarchy or capitalism, we could call them they. That's what they want.
yeah,
Because as long as we're doing that, you'll buy into something over
Yeah,
here.
we're fighting.
And I'll
Yeah.
buy into something over here. I'm trying to input more logic. And if I could put more logic, if I can get people to think outside the box, all these things, at least there'll be enough confusion with the whatever that says I won't be controlled. I'm just going to make an informed decision. If I want to go sit down and watch the Desperate Housewives of South Central, which will
Real
be-
Housewives of South Central.
It'll be airing on CBS. No. But like if I want to sit down and watch that, I just want people to have the reasoning of I'm watching this because. Just put extra thought into things, because the less we think, the more we're controlled.
Totally.
The less we think, the more we're agitated and we want to get angry and we want to argue. You know, like I truly believe logic solves and heals all, because everything that we're using in here was created by logic, not emotions.
Okay, so this is something that I think is incorrect, because logic, someone explained this to me recently.
Emotions drive logic?
No, emotions don't drive logic.
Okay.
But part of logical reasoning is also being aware of emotions. So we don't have to replace emotions with logic, because it would be very illogical. That's not a word. It would not be illogical. It would be very illogical to not be aware of the fact that human beings do experience emotions, and emotions are constantly in flux, and to not take those into account, I don't think would be very logical.
Depends on the problem. But like
For sure.
When I mean
Again, we're talking so like
no, but if you take a
high
broad
concept.
subject and you just put some focus to it, like the camera that's looking at us, the internet, electricity, the structure of this building, you know, the logic that came into this table, like all of that stuff, the building blocks of the visual world that we see was built off of logic, from the bridge to the road systems, all those things.
But it was also built by humans, and the humans were able to enact that logic because they felt emotions.
No,
Wait, can I interject?
Go for it.
The internet
100%.
was made in World War II, which was caused by emotions. So it's like we use logics to create the
No,
things.
go back to that.
The
Go back to
desire
that.
for the things comes from
Go back
emotions.
to that. World War II was created by what?
Emotions.
Just please explain, because I have no idea.
Someone has to be very emotional and believe something without logic to slaughter people and go to war. It's not a logical state to kill another human. It's pure emotion. It's someone who's logical at the top, getting the masses emotional and riled up behind the cause, and then.
But to get someone emotional, you need logic.
Yes,
like,
but
like
a
when I
few
bring up
people
like,
at the top are logical. You fully agree.
but that's how
I think the
leadership
people at the
works.
top
You need-
are also emotional. I don't think there's no human being in the world that doesn't experience emotion.
But you're going to a little bit of hyperbole. I don't mean the lack of experiencing emotion.
Right.
I mean, you can have whatever emotion that you have,
Mm-hmm.
and it could do some sort of driving. But to get the desired result, it takes logic.
Okay, let's be specific. Building this table, right? There's someone who built this table. They probably built like 10 more tables exactly like it. And yeah, they use logic, they use math, they use science, they use whatever. But they also had to wake up every morning and have the drive and have the emotion to do it. Or what made them become a carpenter? Or what like pushed them to hone their craft so that they're making tables for a living?
Or we took the design and we put it in a factory, and it's an automated thing that pumps out the table.
Okay,
type thing.
but an engineer
but-
had to program that machine,
And
and an
even-
engineer became an engineer
So it's the desire.
maybe because their father didn't love them, and they had
that,
Just kidding.
But
It
no,
was
I
just
dig,
a
I, dig,
joke.
I dig what you're saying.
no. But I'm just saying, like,
But I
it's,
mean,
it's not logic has to be reasonable. This is what this is now. The video is coming back to me. Logic has to be reasonable, and it is not reasonable to assume that humans don't experience emotions. So, in order to be
No one said-
logical in
no one
this
said-
world,
no one
we
said-
have to take those into account.
No one said not experience emotion.
Okay.
I just that,
What
that,
did no
that
one
was
say?
I'm saying I did not say anything.
No,
about
I know. But you said that everything that was made in this room was made with logic and not emotion.
Yeah, nothing was made like by emotion. And if emotion was the driving force, you have to enact the logic portion. I mean, you can have that drive to be the first man on the moon or create something that was never existing before. And we can try and say that an emotion got you to that point to drive you, to wake you up every day, to focus on it, to get
Well, I wouldn't
100
say one emotion. I would say many emotions.
but it's the desire to succeed that gets us to those places. The person that fails
Which are fueled by
100
emotion.
times,
Yeah, which are fueled by emotion.
but
A desire is an emotion.
now that is the emotion, like the desire. Sadness, happiness don't necessarily come into play. Because like when you fail 100 times, like for me to succeed the 101, it's the desire to succeed. That one process is the result of all these inventions that we have. Sometimes it's even an accident, like penicillin or whatever. But I mean, the desire to succeed is the only thing that gets us to this other way. Like, I'm trying to think, was there ever a happiness or a sadness that drove something into logic, into creating?
I just don't think you can isolate emotion out of logic. I think that emotions are there, and then there's logic, but you have to be able to, you don't just like have logic without emotions.
If I were going to like start a campaign, it would be of more control over emotions.
Yeah, I agree.
So like I'm not going on 0, and I just because like I'm not robot need oil. No, so like it's not the lack of, but with a certain amount of control, you'll be able to go a lot further than emotional chaos. And the simplicity of emotional chaos. I don't mean I'm going, but if you just have 3 different emotions in 3 people, but you're trying to come to a single consensus, it becomes difficult. So if one person's happy, one person's sad, one person is constipated.
Well, because I would say those people are in different states of their existence at that moment. Like that's the thing is like emotions are fleeting and they're not here to stay. They change and they do inform they do inform our decision making. They inform how we communicate and they are momentary. And so having kind of like, that's a lot of what cognitive dissonance is taking a step back objectively and saying, I'm feeling this right now. Why am I feeling it? What's at the root of it? How have I felt this in the past? How have I reacted in the past? And how can I react in a situation right now that's not necessarily logical, but that's just really good for the situation specifically? Because if you're really angry at me, I have two choices. I have many choices, but my emotions could be, I'm angry now too because you're angry at me and then we fight and whatever. Or it could be, I'm sad, you're angry, and I'm sad. And that just maybe that'll diffuse the situation. Or you could be angry and I could be a sicko and that could make me really happy because I wanted you to be angry. The way we communicate in those states, but we're in different states. We're not in the same place at all.
And the thing that I'd be searching for is
good. That's just a 5.
Okay, 5.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was like a commercial break. The thing that I'm trying to seek is like problem solving skills, and problem resolution. So
conflict resolution. Yeah.
Jeez, I was having a problem with that. So like conflict resolution, all those things that I'm looking for get a little hindered when emotion gets introduced.
Totally.
So I have an engineering degree. I think of things very logically. I think of things in a certain way. With emotional control, you can solve problems a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. But you're never not going to feel those emotions.
I'm not talking about never not. I'm just saying I'm more concerned with solving problems than processing all these other things. Because if we have this emotional freedom, these problems that we so-called have, we're never going to address them. Like I have a small catchphrase that eventually, if I get famous, it'll be all out there. It's, when was the last time you solved a problem by not talking about it? Now, take any big problem. You only use racism because the other ones get a little hot as subjects. But like, we just say racist, don't be it. We'll cancel somebody. We're just real quick to, but we never talk about the why. We'll never solve any problem shutting it down and never getting into the why. Now, there's a bunch of things that are in place to where you can never talk about the why, especially in the public sphere. I personally want to sit down with a racist. It's not going to be recorded. It's not going to be this. It's not going to be any of these things that we can get some type of benefit from it.
And also change.
Yeah, it would just be
the reality.
Me talking so that they can be as free and as angry and whatever, because I'm so curious of the why. So curious that I don't care about all the other things, because we are totally missing the plot when it comes to that. Now you take any of these other big subjects, whether it's pedophilia or any of these other things, where it's a no, you can't talk about it.
You can't talk about it. Yeah.
If I had a problem with diddling kids, I don't have when I get that problem, hopefully get that I get famous. Don't laugh. What's wrong with you?
Get that invite to that island.
So, man, I can't wait till they open up the second theme park. So
it's gonna be great.
Oh, I can't. I'm a little too old to go there, but no. So, because I'm trying to get my second place. Okay, home plate filled. Oh fuck, second place. Anyway, black place. Okay.
Talking about pedophilia. We don't want to talk about it.
If I had a problem, I'm not even in a place to where you'd be able to talk to a healthcare provider with, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like those would be a stipulation, because you're still talking to another person. So it's like, if it's not open for that, we're not open to the solution. We are only open to lock them all up. I mean, shit, if you were to ask the population, lock them all up, put them on an island and burn them or some shit like that.
And then they put them on an island and everyone got mad.
Well, there was kids there too.
Yeah. Well, that was the problem.
Yeah,
no.
If you just get rid of those.
Yeah. No,
Did you see how they were dressed up? Okay,
Yeah. But it's true though. You're right. And I actually have thought about this specifically with pedophilia because I'm like, it is something that we're not open to talking about. And so we're nowhere close to the solution.
Too many emotional responses.
I would say
I'd have to
too much trauma.
you'd have
And
to be
we don't want to look, we
emotionless.
just don't want to look at the evil. We don't want to look at evil in the eye.
You'd have to be
Yeah.
emotionless
Yeah.
to talk to someone and get down to the bottom of their problems.
Of a pedophile? Well, I mean, there's definitely, there's therapists and psychologists that speak to people who.
We hope, but they're still people. That's the. It's like I've been in therapy a couple of times, and like, it's a very interesting phenomenon, pulling yourself out of the emotional realm to really be objective,
Yeah.
because it's an exercise, and it's a tough exercise, and it takes practice. The stuff that I'm preaching, when you kept saying like, oh, without emotion, like I was taking it like personal. You're not wrong, but I'm not saying that. You're not. I would love to get to a certain place to where it's like I'm not affected, because I want the end result to be some solution to some problem. I'll take that burden. I'm not going to say I want other people to be that, because I can be the martyr in that scenario. That's how much I care about change and making a difference. I think it can help when people get all caught up in the emotions and caught up in the personal and not caught up in the solution. Like, do people really care about the future? You know, when it's going to be radical when you start thinking about the future.
Yeah.
And like, whether it's Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, or Adolf Hitler, they were all thinking a certain way about their vision of the future. And it goes down a very tough pathway, because just because I think this will be better for the future, what's to stop me from becoming some stupid dictator because I get drunk off of power? But you have to ask yourself those questions. You know, for me to get change, I'm going to have to be radical. No one's getting change one person at a time. Like Malcolm.
Well, they
Martin.
can, but it's going to take a long time.
But
You could sit down and have
it'll-
this conversation with like 1,000 people and maybe convert 500 of those people, and then you did convert 500 of those people. But yeah, but I see what you're saying
sort of
on
way.
a on a realistic
You got to catch fire.
effective way.
Yeah, on an effective way.
You have to be
somehow
radical.
You got to catch fire.
Yes.
And it's through like radical ideas or whatever. Like we're not, like, there's still demonstrations, there's still marches, but like it's just not at that level of. And I'll keep bringing up Martin Luther King. Like, he tapped into a certain type of logic to entice a certain type of emotion. The turning the other cheek and getting your fucking ass beat was less of an emotion and it was more of a logical state, because there was a rule. The rule is you're going to be met with the worst part of life, and you have to take it personally. You know, like I've been looked at before in that sort of realm, and whenever they talk about like the change or anything with racial things, all I have to do is like look at those videos of like the police dogs or, you know, people getting beat. And I just go, this thing is so timeless and it's so secretive. We'll never get to the bottom of it, because it'll never affect people that it doesn't affect. We never, like, being looked at like I'm not a human. It is hard to do on another realm, like when we're talking about like Jews and Palestinians or Irish or any of these other individuals that had, you know, some rough times. The thing that's been like going past with the times is the dark skin, you know, like a white presenting individual looking at a dark skinned individual as like property. Like, it's just so different. It's so, we get caught up on so many other issues that it's so, there's people that want to like cancel someone because they said the N-word or a prime minister put on blackface. Like, I could give a fuck about that. The dude that put his knee on that guy's neck, he may have never said the N-word once,
Nope.
but he just didn't care.
No.
Like my biggest concern is if I'm on the ground like bleeding out, someone's hate will keep them from calling 911, and you can't prosecute that. You can't cancel that. It's
No.
all a feeling up
You
here.
can't prosecute hate.
Until we can get into the reasons why.
Yeah.
We'll just keep
Right.
drawing sides. You're
I don't
either on
think
this
we
side or
will-
that side.
I don't think we want to know the reasons why.
We don't.
I don't
Because
think
there's too much emotion involved with it.
well,
I'm
because
sorry
it's
to bring
also
it back
just-
like that.
No, but it's because it's the ugliest truth of the matter is that it's a complete lack of humanity, and that I think is quite rampant.
It's not a complete lack. I mean,
Well, a partial lack.
Because they think of themselves as human. People that don't
Right,
like black
but they're-
people are me.
Yeah.
That's how they think of themselves.
Yeah.
Because no one writes themselves off as the villain
No.
in their own story. None
No.
of them. Hitler didn't.
No.
No matter how bad we think he is and look back on everything that people do, if we know that people don't write themselves as the villain, that's why I would like to sit down and talk to I'm talking about, I don't give a fuck what he says. It's going to hurt. It's going to be in a bunch of places, but I care more about the process than I do of how it feels, because it feels much worse if it ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm like,
Yes, I see what you're saying.
like,
So
like
you're
I
saying prioritize logic.
prioritize emotions. Logic already has priority because it's pass or fail. It's yes or no. It's a 1 or a 0.
No, but I mean like in everyday interactions, people you
Oh,
you
I'm
would
sorry.
you
Yeah,
would
yeah,
like people
yeah.
to prioritize logic
I would like
and
logic to be-
deprioritize
yeah,
emotions.
'cause if-
But I don't think you can have just one. I don't think you can have the complete absence of emotions. But you can prioritize logic.
I still am not talking about having an absence of emotions. It's just I want it to be the priority, and I want there to be emotional
Yes.
control, because with
Yes.
emotional control,
And I'm with
can,
you.
You can get to we are talking about like the same thing.
Yeah.
We're using different words.
Yeah.
We are allies, and will you marry me? No, but it is.
Can I get back to you tomorrow?
No, please. Yeah, can I get back to you on the 5th when you're in? No, but marriage, fuck that. What's your take on marriage?
We don't have enough time to get into it. My take on marriage is, the history of marriage is really interesting. It's a social construct that was created for property purposes,
Do you think
and then we interjected love into it, and then we sold
was the
that,
problem?
and then we sold that dream to women and men.
So one of these days you will include men, but yeah, so it's like the
Well, we sold it to both of them, really. I mean, men idealize marriage. Also, it's the same. It's if they didn't, they
sold it to men
wouldn't
first.
make the dichotomy of women you marry and women you fuck.
they sold it to men first. I mean, we're the ones that we were the first ones they were selling to.
Yep.
Then they broke up
That's true.
the nuclear
That's true.
family, and now they can sell to men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just a bunch of lies going around, and someone's still just making money, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But like you see a Zales commercial or a Jared commercial, that's
The sales.
that. But you know, it's to attract the female eye, but it's going to entice the male wallet.
Mhm.
I don't see a diamond
And it makes
commercial
men
and go,
feel good
I don't go, ooh.
to buy women
this would be
jewelry.
great.
It does makes them feel good too.
It makes them to.
Well,
They
because
want to
they're
make
able
them. They want
to
to make
say,
you
"I did
feel
it."
good.
But it also makes them feel good.
It.
If
That
you buy,
that small
you're
percentage
able to go. I'm a guy who can buy a woman
provider. One of those
jewelry. Yes,
provider guys.
there
But
is
those-
an esteem factor
and
to
those
it.
guys are still cavemen. Like that's because that's a very caveman mentality. Now, here's the thing.
That's I would say
I'm also that caveman,
people buy into it.
but I'm still that guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just creeping away from it because I care way more. Like right now, if some nonsense were to happen right now, I would legit go full on like caveman mode and protect. I'd protect both of you because I'm very military. Like I'm like a big black Jason Bourne, but like I would do that thing. You know,
BBJB.
madness would be right there. Take a few bullets, body slam somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think that way.
Yeah.
Which is healthy for our society. But in the long run, minus violence and minus all these other things, I'm more concerned with my happiness than these primal thoughts that have been ingrained into
For
me
sure.
about a dude.
And I
because,
think, yeah.
because for me, and in my opinion, for men, we are the only ones in charge of our happiness. That's
Totally.
It is.
But for everyone is only in charge of their happiness.
No, because we've already established I'm buying women stuff to make them feel happy. And quote, it makes me feel happy. It doesn't. But
it makes some men feel happy. And women are doing things.
Except for when it goes somewhere. But like I buy you a ring, it makes you feel happy. If you just leave me, do I still have that happiness?
About buying the ring?
Yeah. Because you get to leave with a ring.
Well, you might be able to go, well,
You get
I'm
to leave with a ring.
I meant you're someone that has money and you can buy things for someone and that then see them benefit from it.
But yeah, I feel that we're over time. But it's like, if I bought you a ring, I'm not happy about it if it leaves. I lost money.
You bought me, yeah, but if you bought me a ring, when I get back to you, if you bought me a ring, I would be happy about what that signified. And I think you would be happy of what that signified at that time. We break up.
You break up.
You're not happy about the ring.
You're keeping the ring.
I would give it back.
You would.
But that's
said one out of a million that wouldn't, but like it's a huge loss because it's very temporary. Dudes opening their wallet and doling out that happiness. Super temporary.
For sure. But the happiness goes away when we break up on both ends. It's not just you that's no longer happy with the ring. Yes, but I was happy about what the ring signified.
Very temporary thing.
Well, I can sell the ring and then get money and have a temporary
and ain't that something? So
ain't that something? But I could also give it back to you and you could.
What is the percentage of people that would give back the ring?
I don't know. We have to look that up, but we don't have time.
Okay,
but this was really great. Part two, for sure. Thank you, Jay, for coming.
Lord of the Rings.
Thanks to everyone who listened to this episode. Have a great week and we'll see you next week. Bye.